She said my clothes were washed away by the water. You won't look right, I said, take my shirt. The planet's sky shimmered with colors humans had no names for, a mix of soft blues and purples that made everything feel magical. Eli adjusted his backpack straps, taking a deep breath of the crisp, wet air. He had been on this research mission for nearly 2 weeks, studying the water-filled canyons that carved through the planet's surface. Despite the dangers, he felt alive here. The world was different, beautiful, alive, and unpredictable. Mara walked ahead, her boots crunching over the smooth, wet stones of the canyon floor. She carried a small scanner in her hands, humming softly as it worked. Eli smiled at her from behind. "You really can't help scanning everything, can you?" he said. Mara glanced over her shoulder, smiling. "If we don't, no one will, and we might miss something incredible," he laughed. "You've got a point there." The canyon was quiet, except for the sound of water trickling from cracks in the cliffs. Eli's eyes wandered to the pools of blue-green water that reflected the sky. They looked peaceful, almost inviting, but Eli knew better. Water on Aquali 7 could be dangerous. Sudden floods were common here. The canyon systems were full of hidden rivers and geysers that erupted without warning. "Do you think we'll see anything today?" Mara asked, stopping to peer into a deep pool. Eli shrugged. "Maybe, or maybe we'll just get wet." They both laughed, unaware of the rumble deep beneath the canyon floor. It started as a small vibration. Eli paused, looking down at the stones. "Mara, do you feel that?" she frowned. "Feel what?" The ground shook again, stronger this time. Rocks tumbled from the cliffs above, sending echoes through the canyon. Eli grabbed Mara's arm. "We need to move. Now." Before they could react, a wall of water erupted from a hidden geyser, faster and taller than either of them could have imagined. The force of it pushed them off balance, and the cold, clear water swept across the canyon floor. Eli's heart raced as he reached for Mara, trying to grab her hand, but the current was too strong. Mara shrieked, her voice lost in the roar of the flood. She struggled against the water, her scanner and supplies being pulled away by the rushing current. Eli fought to keep his footing, the water crashing against him like a living wall. His eyes locked on Mara. Then she was gone, carried downstream by the unstoppable force. Eli's mind raced. He couldn't let her go. Not now, not here. Without thinking, he dove into the water, swimming with every ounce of strength he had. The current was violent, but his determination was stronger. He spotted Mara flailing near a cluster of rocks. She was exhausted, barely keeping her head above water. "Hold on, Mara," he shouted. With a surge of energy, Eli reached her. He grabbed her arm and held her tight. Together, they struggled to find something stable, something to cling to. Finally, they reached a flat rock just above the water's surface. Both of them gasped, shaking from the cold and adrenaline. Mara shivered violently, the water having soaked her completely. I lost everything," she whispered, her voice trembling. "My supplies, my clothes." Eli looked at her, concern etched on his face. He realized she was standing in nothing but a soaked undersuit, the flood having swept her other clothes away. The thought of the moment was awkward, but Eli didn't flinch. Instead, he pulled off his jacket and offered it to her. "Here," he said simply, "take my shirt, it's all I have." Mara blinked, surprised. You don't mind?" Eli shook his head. "Not at all. We need to get you warm and safe. That's what matters." She hesitated for a moment, then accepted the shirt. It was much too big for her, hanging loosely over her shoulders, but it would do. She tugged it close around her, smiling faintly. "Thank you," she said softly. Eli gave her a small nod. "Let's focus on getting out of here first." The water around them was still dangerous, but now they had a plan. Using their knowledge of the canyon, they carefully climbed from rock to rock, keeping low and steady. Eli led the way, scanning for the safest path, while Mara followed, holding onto his arm when the rocks were slippery. As they moved, Mara looked around at the canyon. The flood had changed everything. Stones had shifted, pools had formed, and the paths they had walked only moments ago were gone. It was strange and beautiful at the same time. The sunlight glinted off the water, making it sparkle like diamonds scattered across the canyon floor. Eli noticed her fascination. "It's kind of amazing, isn't it?" he said. Mara nodded. "Even after almost getting swept away, yes, there's something alive about this place." He smiled. "Alive and dangerous. Don't forget the dangerous part." They moved slowly, carefully, until they found a small alcove partially protected from the rushing water. They collapsed onto the rocks, breathing heavily, trying to calm their racing hearts. Mara's hands were still trembling, so Eli offered her his jacket again, which she pulled tighter around her. "I don't even know how I'll explain this," Mara said, trying to catch her breath. "All my data, all my notes." Eli shook his head. "Forget the notes for now. You're okay." "That's what counts. Everything else can wait." Mara looked at him, a hint of admiration in her eyes. "You're really calm considering we were just almost swept away." Eli shrugged. "I've learned that panicking doesn't help. You stay calm, think clearly, and act. That's what keeps you alive out here." She nodded slowly. "I hope I can learn that too." They rested for a while, the roar of the flood echoing around them. Eli watched the water, thinking about the canyon, the geysers, and the planet itself. Aquali 7 was alive, that much was certain. It demanded respect and care, but it also offered beauty, knowledge, and even moments of connection like this one. After a while, the flood began to recede, the water slowly returning to its hidden rivers and pools. Eli and Mara carefully made their way back to solid ground, helping each other step over slippery stones and wet vegetation. By the time they reached a small plateau overlooking the canyon, the sun was higher in the sky. The flood had left a trail of sparkling water and shifted rocks, but they had survived. Mara adjusted the oversized shirt, trying not to slip, and looked at Eli with a small, grateful smile. "Thanks again," she said softly. Eli nodded. "It's nothing. That's what humans do. We help each other, we survive together." Mara's eyes sparkled. "You really mean that, don't you?" "I do," Eli replied. "Out here it's the only way to stay alive." They stood there for a moment, looking at the canyon below. It was still dangerous, still unpredictable, but also stunning. The colors of the water, the shapes of the cliffs, the sound of distant geysers, it was all part of a world that was alive, wild, and challenging. Mara took a deep breath, her fears slowly fading. "I guess maybe getting wet isn't so bad after all." Eli laughed. "Depends on whether you want to get swept away again." They both smiled, feeling a small sense of triumph. They had survived the flood, worked together, and even shared a moment of trust and kindness. It wasn't just about surviving the planet, it was about what made them human. As they prepared to move back toward their camp, Eli glanced at Mara. "Ready to find dry clothes?" Mara laughed softly. "Absolutely. But can I keep your shirt for now?" Eli smiled. "Of course. Consider it a souvenir." With that, they began their careful journey back, stepping lightly over rocks and shallow pools, each step a reminder that humanity had not only survived but adapted. Aquali 7 was unpredictable, yes, but humans had a way of facing the unknown, with courage, ingenuity, and kindness. And as the sun climbed higher, casting golden light across the canyon, both Eli and Mara felt a quiet pride. They had faced the flood, helped each other, and survived. Together. And somehow that made all the difference. Eli and Mara walked carefully along the canyon floor, their wet clothes clinging to them. The oversized shirt Eli had given Mara fluttered slightly in the gentle breeze, and she tugged it close around herself. The flood had passed, leaving behind sparkling pools and damp stone paths that glistened in the morning sun. The canyon felt different now, strange, almost alive. "This place, it's changed after the flood," Mara said, her eyes scanning the cliffs. "Look at those stones, they've moved." Eli nodded. "Yeah, the water shifts everything here. It's like the planet itself is breathing." They moved cautiously, stepping over slippery rocks and puddles. The flood had carved new paths, exposed strange plants, and revealed narrow tunnels leading deeper into the canyon. Mara's curiosity was obvious. "We have to explore," she said, pointing toward a narrow crevice that seemed to glow faintly. Eli studied it. "It looks safe enough, but let's go slowly." They entered the crevice, crouching to avoid sharp rocks. The walls were smooth and damp, reflecting light in a soft green hue. Strange, bioluminescent plants clung to the surfaces, pulsing gently like tiny hearts. Mara's scanner beeped softly. "This is incredible," she whispered. "These plants, they're alive, but they're reacting to us. Look." As they moved closer, the plant's glow brightened. When Mara extended her hand toward one, it shifted slightly, almost as if it recognized her. Eli frowned, fascinated. "They're aware. Not like animals, but they know we're here." Mara laughed softly. "That's amazing. Humans have never seen anything like this before. We're the first ones here, Eli, the first ones to meet them." Eli smiled. "Yeah, and that means we have to be careful. We don't want to hurt them accidentally." The two continued deeper into the crevice, careful not to disturb the plants. The walls narrowed at first, then opened into a wide chamber. Water pooled in shallow basins, reflecting the green glow of the bioluminescent flora. The air was humid, warm, and smelled faintly sweet. It was unlike anything Eli had ever experienced. "This is unreal," Mara said. She knelt beside a pool and dipped her hand into the water. It rippled, sending light reflections dancing across the chamber. "It's like the canyon itself is alive." Eli nodded, watching a small, floating plant drift by. Its movements were smooth, almost intelligent. "It's beautiful and it's peaceful. I've never seen a canyon respond like this before." They explored the chamber slowly, careful not to touch anything more than necessary. The plants seemed to follow them with subtle movements, swaying gently toward or away from them. Mara's scanner continued to beep, picking up faint signals of energy within the plants. "These signals, they're almost like communication," Mara said, her voice trembling slightly. "They're trying to tell us something." Eli knelt beside her, studying the readings. Or maybe it's just the way they interact with their environment. Either way, humans have never seen this before. We're witnessing something new. They spent hours observing the living canyon, marveling at the strange interplay of water, plants, and light. Mara sketched diagrams in her notebook, while Eli collected small samples of the floating plants for study. They were careful to take only what was necessary, respecting the ecosystem around them. As they prepared to leave, a faint sound echoed through the chamber, a soft, melodic vibration like wind passing over glass. The plants around them began to glow brighter, forming patterns that pulsed rhythmically. Eli and Mara froze, staring in awe. "What is that?" Mara whispered. Eli shook his head. "I don't know, but I think it's responding to us." The patterns of light and vibration seemed to form shapes simple at first, then more complex. Mara reached out instinctively, and one of the floating plants drifted closer, hovering near her hand. It pulsed gently and the vibration intensified. It felt comforting. "It's like it's saying hello," Mara said, smiling. Eli nodded slowly. "Or welcoming us." Either way, humans are part of this canyon now, at least for a moment. They stayed in the chamber until the light patterns began to fade. The vibration softened, and the plants returned to their gentle glow. Eli glanced at Mara. "We should head back. The canyon has shown us something, but we can't stay here forever." Mara nodded, a mixture of excitement and reluctance on her face. "You're right, but I want to come back. Tomorrow we can study it more, maybe even communicate with it." Eli chuckled softly. "Slow down, scientist. First, we survive today. Then we can worry about conversations with plants." They carefully made their way out of the chamber, retracing their steps along the rocks and puddles. As they emerged back onto the main canyon floor, they noticed the sun was lower in the sky. Shadows stretched across the canyon and the air was cooler. "This was incredible," Mara said, glancing back at the glowing crevice. I can't wait to study this more. I wonder if other parts of the canyon are alive like this. Eli smiled. Knowing this planet probably, Aqualis 7 is full of surprises. They continued walking toward their base camp, the canyon quiet except for the soft trickle of water. The flood had changed everything, but it had also revealed something extraordinary, life in a form humans had never encountered. As they walked, Mara stumbled slightly over a loose rock. Eli caught her arm quickly. "Careful," he said. "I'm fine," she replied, adjusting her oversized shirt. "Thanks for being here, Eli. I don't know if I'd have stayed calm if you weren't around." Eli shrugged, smiling. "That's what humans do. We help each other. We survive together. You've got to remember that. Out here, trust and cooperation matter more than anything else." Mara nodded, thoughtful. "I think I'm starting to understand. It's not just surviving the planet, it's surviving with each other." They reached a narrow path that led to a small plateau overlooking the canyon. From there, they could see their base camp in the distance, a cluster of tents and equipment that looked small and fragile against the vast canyon. Eli scanned the area carefully. "Looks safe. Let's go slow. Don't want any more surprises." As they descended toward the camp, the canyon's hidden rivers shimmered in the fading light. Eli noticed movement along one of the pools, a faint ripple, almost as if something large had moved just beneath the surface. He stopped and motioned for Mara to do the same. "Did you see that?" he whispered. Mara squinted. I think so, something in the water," Eli nodded. "Yeah, maybe a creature, could be harmless, could be curious. Either way, we stay calm, that's the key." They watched quietly. The ripple passed, leaving the water smooth again. Eli felt a mixture of awe and caution. This planet was alive in ways humans had never imagined, and they were part of it now. "Let's keep moving," he said softly. "We don't want to get caught in the dark out here." They continued down the path slowly, careful with each step. Mara's curiosity was tempered by caution, but she couldn't help glancing back at the glowing plants and strange waters. "This planet, it's like nothing else," she whispered. Eli nodded. "Exactly. And that's why humans are here, to explore, to understand, and to survive." As they reached the edge of the plateau, Eli and Mara stopped to catch their breath. The canyon stretched out below them, vast and mysterious. Pools of water reflected the fading sun, and the cliffs glowed softly in the twilight. It was breathtaking. "You know," Mara said quietly, "I think I understand why humans are special. We notice things, we care. We find ways to survive and to connect. Even here on a planet like this, we matter." Eli smiled. "That's exactly it. Humans can adapt, help each other, and notice things others might miss. That's what makes us us." Mara laughed softly. "I like that, us. It feels right." They descended the final path to their camp, careful with the rocks and water. When they arrived, they found their supplies mostly intact. A few items had been washed away, but nothing vital. Eli set up a small fire, and Mara unpacked what remained of their food and equipment. As they settled in for the evening, the sky above the canyon darkened, revealing stars that seemed brighter than any Eli had ever seen. The air was cool, and the sounds of water trickling and the distant canyon echoes created a peaceful, almost magical atmosphere. Mara glanced at Eli, smiling faintly. "Today was amazing, terrifying, but amazing." Eli nodded. "It's the canyon, always something new, and we survived together." They sat quietly, watching the stars. Aqualis 7 had shown them its power, its beauty, and its intelligence. Humans were small, fragile creatures in the Grand Canyon, but they had courage, ingenuity, and trust in each other. And somehow, that made all the difference. The morning light crept over the cliffs of Aqualis 7, spilling gold and pink across the canyon floor. Eli stretched, feeling the stiff ache in his muscles from yesterday's flood, and climbed through the glowing crevice. Mara was already awake, crouched beside the small fire they had kept burning overnight, examining her scanner readings. "I think last night's chamber had more than just plants," Mara said softly, her eyes scanning the screen. There's something else, energy patterns. They move in ways plants shouldn't be able to move. Eli leaned over to look. The screen showed subtle waves of energy pulsing in the water near the canyon pools. You think the canyon is alive in other ways too? He asked. Mara nodded slowly. Yes, and I think we might meet them soon. I just don't know what form they take. Eli smiled faintly. Well, whatever they are, humans have a way of connecting. We survive, adapt, and show kindness. That counts for something. They packed their gear carefully, making sure nothing was left behind. The canyon was still dangerous in patches, but now it seemed calmer. The floods had receded, leaving the pools sparkling in the morning sun. Eli and Mara moved slowly, alert to every sound. The canyon was no longer just stone and water. It felt alive in a new way. As they rounded a bend, a ripple in the largest pool caught their attention. The water shimmered unnaturally as if something moved just beneath the surface. Eli stopped, signaling Mara to do the same. "Did you see that?" he whispered. Mara nodded, holding her scanner steady. "Yes, something's down there." The water's surface broke gently, and slowly a creature rose from the pool. It was unlike anything they had seen before. Its body was long and sleek, shaped like a mixture of a fish and an eel, but its skin glimmered with shifting colors. Light refracted off its scales, creating patterns that seemed almost deliberate. Its eyes were large and intelligent, reflecting curiosity rather than threat. Eli took a cautious step forward. "It's beautiful," he breathed. Mara nodded, equally awestruck. "It's watching us." The creature moved slowly, tilting its head as it observed them. Then, to their surprise, several more creatures emerged from nearby pools, smaller and faster, moving in synchronized patterns. They circled Eli and Mara, yet never made an aggressive move. Their behavior suggested intelligence, curiosity rather than danger. Eli knelt, keeping his movements slow and calm. "We have to show them we mean no harm," he said. Mara nodded, stepping closer to the water's edge. She extended her hand slowly, palm up, toward the nearest creature. It paused, tilting its shimmering head, then inched forward. A faint ripple of energy pulsed through the water, and Eli's scanner beeped softly. The creature's energy seemed to respond directly to Mara's presence, almost like a greeting. They recognize us," Mara whispered. "Or maybe they're just curious. Either way, it's amazing." Eli smiled. "Humans adapt and survive. Maybe they sense that in us. That we're different from the rocks, the plants, and the water." Mara reached into a small container and gently tossed a few harmless bioluminescent plants into the water. The creatures reacted instantly, nudging them with their heads, causing ripples and waves that danced across the pool. The interaction was delicate, almost playful. Eli laughed softly. "They're friendly," he said, "and smart. Look at how they handle the plants. They understand interaction." For the next hour, Eli and Mara observed the creatures, moving slowly to avoid scaring them. The creatures responded in ways that seemed deliberate, mirroring movements, creating patterns in the water, and occasionally pulsing energy that the scanner detected. The canyon was alive with intelligence, and these aquatic beings were its most visible sign. Mara turned to Eli, eyes wide with wonder. "Do you think they've seen humans before?" Eli shook his head. "No, I think we're the first, and that's why they're curious but not afraid. They're deciding if we're friends or threats, and so far I think we're proving them right." As they continued their cautious interaction, Mara noticed something unusual. One of the smaller creatures approached her more closely than the others. It hovered near the oversized shirt she wore, tilting its head curiously. Mara laughed softly. "I think it likes my shirt," she said. Eli chuckled. "Maybe it knows about kindness too." The creature pulsed brightly, sending a soft wave of energy that Mara could feel even through her clothes. She smiled. "It's like it's communicating without words, just feeling." Eli nodded. "Humans do that too. We can communicate through gestures, trust, and empathy. That's what makes us special. Maybe they're sensing that." The interaction lasted hours, yet it never felt tiring. Mara sketched diagrams, noted energy readings, and observed the creature's behavior. Eli stayed close, helping her move safely along the pools and rocks. Their trust and teamwork allowed them to experience the canyon fully, without fear. As the sun climbed higher, one of the larger creatures moved toward Eli. It pulsed gently, and he extended his hand. Its skin was cool and smooth, almost silky as it brushed against his palm. A soft vibration passed through him, a sensation of connection he had never felt before. Mara watched in awe. "It's communicating with you," she whispered. Eli smiled, amazed. "Or connecting. That's what humans do naturally. We connect with each other and maybe with other beings too." The creatures continued their interaction, now surrounding both humans. The larger creature pulsed in patterns that matched Mara's heartbeat, while the smaller ones mirrored Eli's movements. It was like a dance, delicate, careful, and full of intelligence. Finally, the creatures began to retreat, moving back into the pools from which they had emerged. The energy pulses faded, leaving the water smooth and calm once more. Mara and Eli watched silently, a sense of awe and accomplishment filling them. "They accepted us," Mara whispered. "They trust us somehow." Eli nodded. "It's our kindness, curiosity, and patience. That's what makes humans remarkable. Even on a planet like this, we can show empathy and intelligence. That's why we survive." Mara smiled. "I never thought I'd meet intelligent life like this and learn from it too." Eli chuckled. "Life comes in many forms. Sometimes you just have to pay attention." They continued exploring the canyon, now more aware of its inhabitants. The pools shimmered with life, the plants reacted to their presence, and the creatures occasionally peeked from hidden waters. Aqualis 7 was alive, not just in the obvious ways of water and rock, but through intelligence, curiosity, and connection. As evening approached, they began their journey back to camp. The sun painted the canyon walls in gold and orange, and the pools reflected the changing colors. Mara's oversized shirt clung to her, damp but comfortable, a reminder of Eli's kindness from days before. "I'm starting to understand," Mara said softly, walking beside Eli. "This planet, it's testing us, but not just for survival, it's testing our humanity." Eli glanced at her. "Exactly. Aqualis 7 wants to see if humans can adapt, connect, and survive without harming anyone, and so far we're doing well." They reached the edge of the canyon floor, where their camp was visible. The tents and equipment seemed fragile against the vast canyon, yet humans had made it work. They had survived the flood, explored the living chamber, and even met intelligent aquatic life. Their day had been full of wonder, fear, and discovery, and they had faced it together. Mara paused at the camp entrance, glancing back at the canyon pools. "Do you think they'll remember us?" Eli smiled. "Maybe, or maybe they'll recognize us again. Either way, we've shown them humans can be kind, patient, and curious. That's enough for now." As night fell, they set up their small campfire and shared a simple meal. The stars above the canyon were brilliant, and the air was filled with the soft sounds of water and distant echoes. Mara leaned back, smiling faintly. "Today was incredible," she said. Eli nodded, looking at the glowing canyon pools below. "It's just the beginning. There's so much to learn, so much to see, and we'll do it together. That's what humans do." They sat in silence, feeling the connection not just with each other but with the canyon itself, the plants, the water, and the creatures they had met. Humanity had shown its strength not through violence or power, but through kindness, intelligence, and adaptability. And in that moment, Eli realized something profound. Humans had the ability to thrive anywhere, not by conquering, but by understanding, cooperating, and connecting. The canyon whispered around them, alive with unseen energy, and Eli knew they had only scratched the surface of what Aqualis 7 had to offer. Tomorrow they would explore deeper, learn more about the intelligent life, and continue proving that humans were capable of surviving and thriving on this extraordinary planet. And somehow that thought filled him with pride, hope, and a quiet excitement for the adventures yet to come. The next morning, the canyon was quiet, bathed in a soft blue light. Eli and Mara packed their gear, still marveling at the events of the previous day. The memory of the aquatic creatures lingered in their minds, their curiosity, their gentle pulses of energy, and the silent connection that had formed. It was a reminder that Aqualis 7 was alive in ways humans had only begun to understand. "We should explore deeper today," Mara said, adjusting her oversized shirt. "I want to see if there's more intelligence hidden in this canyon, maybe even something older." Eli nodded. "Agreed, but we move carefully. The canyon has surprises, and we don't want another flood to catch us off guard." They followed a narrow path along the canyon wall, their boots crunching softly on damp stone. Pools of water reflected the morning light, and small bioluminescent plants pulsed faintly in shaded areas. The canyon felt alive, but this time there was an undercurrent of mystery, a sense that something had been waiting for them. After about an hour of careful walking, Mara stopped. "Look there," she whispered, pointing to a nearly hidden opening in the cliff wall. Moss and water had partially covered it, but it was large enough for them to enter. Eli crouched and examined the opening. "It looks like a natural tunnel, but the patterns on the walls don't seem natural. See the shapes? They look like symbols or instructions." Mara leaned closer, her eyes wide with excitement. "Ancient signs, maybe from the original inhabitants of this planet." Eli nodded slowly. "We should go in, carefully. This might be something no human has ever seen." They entered the cavern cautiously. The air was cooler and slightly damp, carrying a faint, metallic scent. The walls were smooth and carved with intricate patterns, glowing faintly with the canyon's natural energy. Eli and Mara moved slowly, their eyes scanning every detail. "Look at this," Mara said softly, tracing a glowing symbol with her finger. "It's beautiful and it seems to tell a story." Eli knelt to examine a nearby engraving. "These symbols, they're like instructions, maybe a guide, but for what?" As they moved deeper, the tunnel widened into a vast chamber. Water pooled in shallow basins, reflecting the soft light from the walls. Strange machinery was partially submerged, covered in moss and glowing plants. It looked ancient yet surprisingly intact. Mara gasped. This is technology, alien technology, and it's still working." Eli examined a console-like structure, brushing away debris. "It's some sort of control panel. Look at these lights. They're still active. Whatever this is, it hasn't been used in a very long time." Mara walked along the edge of a large pool in the center of the chamber. The water was clear and calm, yet it shimmered with energy. "I think this is a terraforming device," she said slowly. "It's designed to control the environment, maybe regulate water, air, even temperature." Eli's eyes widened. "That would make sense. A planet this alive, it would need management. And whoever built this, they had intelligence far beyond ours." Mara crouched beside a floating panel of controls. She studied the symbols and lights, her fingers hovering over the buttons. "I think we can interact with it," she whispered. "Carefully, we might be able to understand how it works." Eli nodded, his heart racing. "Be careful. One wrong move and we could damage it or ourselves." Together they began experimenting cautiously. Mara touched the glowing symbols and the water in the pools responded, shifting and pulsing with energy. Lights traveled across the walls, forming patterns that seemed almost like a language. Eli watched, fascinated. "It's reacting to us," he said, "like it knows we're here." Mara smiled, a mixture of excitement and awe on her face. "It's incredible. We're not just observing anymore, we're interacting. This technology, it trusts us to learn from it." Hours passed as they explored the chamber. They discovered that the pools could be controlled to direct water through the canyon, that light patterns could influence the growth of the bioluminescent plants, and that subtle energy pulses could communicate information across distances. "This is a gift," Mara whispered. "The original inhabitants wanted whoever came here to understand and protect the planet, and now that's us." Eli nodded slowly. "Humans have a way of adapting, learning, and working together. That's why this works. We're not here to destroy, we're here to understand." As they continued exploring, a faint hum filled the chamber. The machinery, the water, and even the plants seemed to resonate together. The energy pulses grew stronger, guiding them toward a deeper tunnel at the back of the chamber. "Do you feel that?" Mara whispered. "It's like it's leading us somewhere." Eli nodded. "Yes, it wants to show us something. Let's follow it." The tunnel led them to a smaller chamber, completely hidden from the canyon above. In the center was a pedestal glowing softly. Resting on it was a small, spherical device, its surface shimmering with energy. It was clearly the core of the ancient technology, a key to controlling the terraforming system. Mara approached it cautiously. This is the heart of it. If we can understand this, we can control the entire system, stabilize the environment, regulate the water, maybe even communicate with the canyon life more directly." Eli stepped beside her. "We need to be careful. This is powerful technology. We can't rush it. But humans, we've solved impossible problems before. We can figure this out." Mara nodded. She reached out and the sphere responded, pulsing gently under her hand. Energy flowed through her fingers, warm and alive. The cavern seemed to hum in response, as if the planet itself was acknowledging their presence. "It's like it knows we're human," Mara whispered. "It recognizes what humans can do." Eli smiled. "Not just what we can do, how we can do it, with care, patience, and cooperation. That's what sets us apart." Together, they studied the sphere, learning its function slowly. The symbols on the pedestal lit up as they interacted, revealing instructions and maps of the canyon system. They realized they could direct water flow, encourage plant growth, and even influence the behavior of the aquatic creatures they had met. "This is incredible," Mara said softly. "We can help this canyon thrive, not just survive, thrive. Humans have the chance to protect life here and maybe even guide it safely." Eli nodded. "That's the HFY moment, isn't it? Humans, small and fragile, using intelligence and empathy to succeed where brute force isn't enough." As they worked, the chamber seemed to respond to their presence. The water shimmered more brightly, the plants glowed softly, and the hum grew more harmonious. It was as if the planet itself was celebrating their understanding. Hours passed like minutes, and by the end of the day they had learned enough to make small adjustments safely. Pools of water shifted, energy patterns synchronized, and the canyon seemed calmer, more stable. Mara and Eli stepped back, exhausted but exhilarated. "We did it," Mara said softly. "We understood it enough to make a difference." Eli smiled. "We didn't just survive the canyon, we became part of it. That's what humans do. We adapt, we learn, we cooperate, and we thrive." Mara looked at him, eyes wide. "It's amazing. I never thought humans could achieve this." Eli shrugged. "We've always done amazing things. Sometimes we just need a chance and a canyon that trusts us." As they prepared to leave the chamber, the sphere pulsed one last time, sending a wave of energy through the cavern. The water shimmered, and the plants glowed brighter than ever. It felt like a silent acknowledgement, a promise that humans and Aqualis 7 could coexist, work together, and thrive. Walking back to the canyon floor, Mara glanced around at the glowing plants and pools. "This planet, it's alive, yes, but it also believes in us now. It trusts humans to do the right thing." Eli nodded. "And that's why humans survive. Not because we're the strongest, but because we care, adapt, and understand. That's our real power." As the sun dipped lower in the sky, they reached their camp, tired but filled with a quiet pride. They had discovered an ancient, intelligent system, learned to interact with it safely, and proven that humans could succeed through empathy, patience, and cooperation. That night, as they sat by their fire and watched the stars twinkle above the canyon, Mara whispered, "I think we've only begun to see what humans can do. Aqualis 7 is alive, and we're a part of it now." Eli nodded, a smile playing across his face. "Exactly. And tomorrow we'll explore even more." The canyon around them hummed softly, alive with water, plants, and hidden life. Humans had faced the flood, met intelligent creatures, and now touched the heart of Aqualis 7 itself. They had survived, and in doing so had proven once again that humanity's true strength lay not in power, but in kindness, intelligence, and cooperation. And somewhere deep in the canyon, the ancient technology pulsed gently, waiting for the humans to continue learning, exploring, and thriving. The next morning, Aqualis 7 greeted Eli and Mara with a soft light, filtering through the canyon cliffs and painting the water in shades of gold and green. The air was still and calm, unlike the chaos of the flood days before. The planet seemed to breathe around them, aware of their presence, as if it were waiting for what they would do next. Eli packed their gear carefully, glancing at Mara. "Ready to continue where we left off?" Mara smiled, adjusting the oversized shirt Eli had given her. "More than ready. I want to see how far we can go today. We've learned a lot, but I think the canyon is hiding even more." They set off, retracing their steps to the hidden cavern. The underground chamber from yesterday had become almost a sanctuary for them, a place where humans could witness the intelligence and beauty of Aqualis 7. As they approached the entrance, Eli noticed the pools shimmer more brightly than before, and the energy pulses in the walls seemed stronger. "It feels like it's expecting us," Eli said softly. Mara nodded. "It's alive, and I think it wants to communicate more. We just have to listen." Inside the chamber, the sphere of ancient technology pulsed gently. Mara reached out, and the energy flowed into her fingers, warm and inviting. Eli placed his hand beside hers, and together they guided the pulses, watching as the pools of water in the cavern shifted and shimmered. "This time," Mara said, "let's see if we can stabilize the canyon itself. The floods, the changes, maybe we can prevent the worst of it and help the life here thrive." Eli studied the glowing controls. "We need to be precise. One wrong adjustment could cause unexpected results. But I trust we can do this. Humans are good at solving problems when we work together." Carefully, Mara and Eli adjusted the energy flows. Water shifted gently through the pools and channels, mimicking the patterns of the canyon's natural rivers. The bioluminescent plants responded instantly, glowing brighter and pulsing rhythmically. Even the aquatic creatures appeared nearby, observing their actions with curiosity. "It's working," Mara whispered. "The canyon, it's responding to us." Eli nodded. "Humans can adapt and help. We've survived floods, learned the canyon's secrets, and now we can improve life here. That's our real power." They spent hours fine-tuning the systems, learning from the energy pulses and watching the canyon respond. The pools synchronized, the streams flowed steadily, and the hidden life within the water seemed calmer, more balanced. Every small success filled them with pride. At one point, one of the larger aquatic creatures rose from a nearby pool. Its scales shimmered like liquid crystal and it pulsed energy toward the humans. Mara smiled. "It's thanking us or welcoming us as partners." Eli chuckled softly. "I think it recognizes humans as capable allies, not threats." That's what HFY is all about. Humans surviving not through force, but through understanding, empathy, and intelligence. The day passed quickly. As the sun reached its peak, Eli and Mara decided to explore the canyon floor once more. The pools and plants were more vibrant than before, and the aquatic creatures swam freely, their curiosity no longer cautious but playful. "This is amazing," Mara said, kneeling beside a pool. She dipped her hand into the water, feeling the gentle pulse of energy. "We've made a difference here. The canyon isn't just surviving, it's thriving." Eli smiled. Humans have that effect sometimes. We face challenges, adapt, and leave a mark, not by conquering but by understanding. As they continued walking, they discovered a series of small tunnels connecting to hidden pools. Each pool had its own unique energy pattern, and the creatures moved between them gracefully. Mara's scanner recorded every detail, and she realized that each pool acted as a node in a network controlling the canyon's ecosystem. If we can link them all, Mara said thoughtfully, we could stabilize the entire system. The floods, the water levels, even the plant growth, everything could be balanced. Eli nodded. It's ambitious, but humans have always achieved the impossible when we work together. Over the next few hours, they moved carefully from pool to pool, learning the network's patterns and making small adjustments. The aquatic creatures followed, occasionally pulsing energy to guide them or signal responses. The canyon itself seemed to acknowledge their efforts, shimmering in approval. By late afternoon, the canyon felt entirely different. Water flowed smoothly through its channels, plants pulsed in harmony, and the creatures moved confidently, no longer cautious or shy. Eli and Mara stopped to rest on a ledge overlooking the main pool, the sunlight reflecting in gentle waves. "We did it," Mara said quietly, her eyes sparkling. "We've stabilized part of the canyon. Life here, it can thrive now." Eli nodded, feeling a deep sense of pride. Humans can do amazing things when we work with intelligence and empathy. We've survived floods, met intelligent life, and now we're helping a whole ecosystem flourish. Mara glanced at him. And we didn't have to fight. We didn't have to hurt. We just understood. That's why humans succeed. Eli smiled. Exactly. Understanding, cooperation, empathy, that's what sets humans apart. We thrive not because we dominate, but because we care, adapt, and learn. As evening approached, the creatures gathered near the largest pool. Their scales shimmered in patterns of light and they pulsed energy rhythmically. It felt like a celebration, a silent acknowledgement of the human's success. Mara reached out and the pulses flowed through her fingers, warm and gentle. "They trust us," she whispered. "We've become part of this canyon's life." Eli nodded, watching the patterns dance across the water. And that's exactly what humans are meant to do: connect, cooperate, and thrive together with life, not against it. The night sky above the canyon was brilliant, stars scattered across the heavens like diamonds. Mara and Eli sat by a small fire, reflecting on their journey. From the sudden flood that had swept Mara away to their discovery of the living plants and intelligent creatures. And finally, the ancient technology that allowed them to stabilize the canyon. They had proven themselves. "They'll remember us," Mara said softly, gazing into the shimmering pools. "Not just the creatures, but the canyon itself. Humans, we leave a mark when we act with care." Eli nodded. "And that's the HFY story. Humans survive not because we're the strongest, but because we think, feel, and cooperate. That's how we thrive." They watched the canyon as it pulsed gently in the moonlight, plants glowing, water shimmering, and creatures moving peacefully. It was alive, balanced, and safe. Humans had not conquered it, they had understood it. And in doing so, they had proven the best of themselves. Hours later, as they lay on the soft canyon floor, Mara whispered, "I think this is only the beginning. There's so much more to learn. The canyon, the creatures, the technology, humanity has a place here." Eli smiled in the darkness. "We'll explore it all, carefully, patiently, and together. That's how humans thrive anywhere." The canyon pulsed softly, as if agreeing, as if acknowledging that humans had earned their place among its life. For the first time, Eli and Mara felt not like visitors, but like part of the living world of Aqualis 7, a world they had helped stabilize, understand, and protect. And in that quiet moment, under the endless stars and the shimmering canyon light, they realized something extraordinary. Humans didn't need power to survive. Humans survived through kindness, intelligence, empathy, and cooperation. And wherever they went, even to alien worlds, they could thrive. The canyon whispered around them, alive with hidden energy, plants, and intelligent life. The ancient technology pulsed gently, waiting for humans to continue learning and caring for the world. Eli and Mara smiled at each other, knowing that humanity's story on Aquali 7 was only beginning. Together, they had faced floods, met alien life, unlocked ancient technology, and learned that humans could leave a positive mark wherever they went. The HFY story was not about battle or conquest. It was about curiosity, cooperation, and courage. And in this glowing canyon under the stars, humanity had proved itself again. The canyon shimmered, the pools pulsed, and the creatures glided gracefully. Life thrived. Humans thrived, and the partnership between them promised a future filled with discovery, understanding, and harmony. Eli reached out and took Mara's hand. "We did this together. Humans can do anything if we care, adapt, and trust each other." Mara smiled, squeezing his hand. "Yes, and the canyon, it'll remind us, always." Above them the stars sparkled and the planet breathed quietly, alive and whole. And in the quiet glow of Aquali 7, the story of humanity, curious, compassionate, and resilient, continued.